Good morning, Boker Tov. Today is Friday, the 26th day of November, Erev Shabbat, Parshat Vayeshev. So how do you know who to believe? And how do people play the race card in trying to convince you to believe them? If you followed along our daily dose of Torah this past week, we were trying to identify, if we could, exactly what the role of Potiphar in being the Sar HaTabachim, and what does it mean to be that? And we went through a number of different interpretations, and the last one we kind of settled in on was that he is the chief executioner. And so it's quite dicey to for there to be an accusation by the wife of the chief executioner that you have tried to have your way with her. And yet, we know how things eventually develop in that story. But I'm interested for the first part of this to look at a line that she uses. Let's take a look at that text just now. She says these words, "But the Beri Lal Kadrim Ha'ela," and she said, according to these words, Lemor, "Bai Lai Ha'eved Ha'ivri Asher Heveta Lanu L'tzachek Bi." You know, that Hebrew slave that you brought here to this house, to us, he came to me, L'tzachek Bi, to have his way with me. The rest of the story goes on. What does that phrase mean? And I don't think it's hard to understand what it is that she's getting at by choosing to say that. On the one hand, you can say she's just diminishing, who he is in general to set it up. But this is similar to what we perhaps followed in the news this past week in the Ahmaud Arbery trial. The closing remarks of penultimate closing remarks of the attorneys for the defendants who have now been found guilty of murdering him. And I actually made sure to listen to what she said, and she described, this black man who we know had been jogging in the area. He had gone into a house under construction, which is, I guess, trespassing. But he came out, and then he was assaulted by these men and chased, and it's a terrible, terrible story that follows. And so, in her closing remarks, the attorney made sure to say and to refer to him as there with his dirty feet, his dirty bare feet. I think he was wearing shoes, actually, in the actual events. But people said, what do we do with this? And there was an outcry, at least among some, because that was a dog whistle. That was a reference that was conjuring the image of a runaway slave. And that resonates, as we know, in certain parts of the world still, with people who have their complicated or not so complicated racial feelings, and the presumption is that she sought in that moment to sway at least one of the white jurors to look at this man in a certain way, and stop looking at the merits of the argument that needed to be made, or in a case that was put before them. Instead, to have an image of someone. And that's what Mrs. Potiphar does, right? When she says these words, that Bai Lai Ha'eved Ha'ivri Asher Heveta Lanu L'tzachek Bi, she just says, look, he's not someone who we have to treat fairly. I'm not, you don't have to wonder whether I'm telling you the truth. This is what I'm telling you happened, and it involved that insignificant human being, or worse. And at the same time, you should appreciate that she has extra layers there, which is to say, Asher Heveta, that you turn to the person who is your potential accuser, namely the husband accusing his wife of playing around, by saying, you brought this danger into our house, and she's really manipulating everything that's here. That's what you have. And so the question is, does he believe her or not? I left you with a little bit of a thought pattern about that, and there actually is a dispute amongst commentators about whether he does believe his wife in this case. The one midrash says, or the Radak seems to say he believed the words. He believed his wife's words. But others say he always doubted it. Ibn Ezra says it. Even though he was angry, he did not kill him. He didn't. He really wasn't certain what happened. Or these words from the Midrash Rabbah, which are the clearest. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison. I know, reading first in the Hebrew, Yodea ani deletu minach. I know full well that that nothing of this came from you. This interaction wasn't something that you drove. But I can't put a stigma on my children. He goes on to say about their mother. The complicated reality, right? When someone there's an accusation against someone that you care about, but it involves someone you are interwoven with because you're married to them in this complicated marriage, and you have the children with them, and so Potiphar puts him in the prison, and and just because he can't kill him, and he puts him there, and he allows, and thankfully, with God's help, he arises as well. And so I've already left the other realm of the accusations, but the challenge that we have in knowing what truth is and allowing our minds not to be swayed by images of what someone is versus who he actually is are really telling. It seems that Potiphar was able to overcome the nasty line that she put into her words. And we have to be able to do so also when dealing with people who are a mix of whoever they are, and allowing ourselves to not see a stereotype of them or an association of them, but to see them for who they are, and to be generous as we can be, as we need to be, in dealing with others around us, and that will make for a better world, my friends. Wishing you a Shabbat Shalom on this long Thanksgiving weekend as we're looking towards Hanukkah. To enjoy your Hanukkah celebrations with your families in the days ahead. We'll have some Divrei Torah about Hanukkah coming up as well. Shabbat Shalom.